Hello and welcome to episode 172 of The Imperial Truth. I'm Greg. Joining me as ever is Mr. Howard. How you doing, Howard?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Greg. As per usual. How are you doing this sun? Well, I was going to say sunny evening. It doesn't really work like that. How are you doing?
Definitely not a sunny evening. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, this is a special episode. Well, I say special episode. It's episode 172, but it is out of the normal format of things, and we are releasing middle of the month for a good reason, and that's because there's some heresy going on.
Been a big old week for heresy, hasn't it? There's been a sudden surge of things going on.
Indeed. Games Workshop were kind enough to send us the new, what are they calling it, Battle Box?
The Battle Company?
Battle
Force?
Battle Force. We don't even know what it's called, which is good, isn't it? But we've got 30 Marines, a Derodeo, and a Land Raider in the new set. And
it is a good set. It is a good collection of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, hopefully, as you're listening to this, we will have some photos up. If not, they'll be very soon, whatever state we're getting some photos of the new Mark III Marines. We've split the box. I've got the Derodeo and 10 dudes, and Howard's taken 20 dudes and the Proteus. It is Proteus, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yes. Well, I had a mind fart there.
That would be, if it was the later model,
yeah,
Mark IIC. That would have thrown a few people.
I had grand plans at the start of the week to finally get the new Space Wolf scheme sorted and get on with it, which were dealt a heavy blow by my airbrush just failing to work, and so ended up having to buy a new airbrush, which is not something I really needed to do right now. But good old Element got it to me the next day, so I could get some grey on some dudes. And as I say, hopefully we'll have some pictures up. I will try and take a photo with them alongside the old Mark III and maybe some of the other models as well. They stand very well next to Fafnir Ran.
Funny you should say that. That has very neatly, succinctly put the thoughts I've been having about them considerably. I've been agonising over what to do with these guys because there's a fair few. I've got a lot of Mark III in the previous Mark III kit, in a couple of forces already, and some Imperial Fists and Iron Warriors, as is the sort of archetypal image of those two. So I thought, well, does it make sense to put these in with a newer force, start something up new? I've got plans to do an Ultramarine force, but I wanted to do them in predominantly Mark VI and Mark IV, because again, quite like the look of them. Obviously, every Legion can use any armor, do what you like kind of thing. But I was trying to think, well, what do these guys are best suited to? And I thought exactly that. Fafnir Ran having that armor style, I thought these guys would look quite good. So I'm planning on doing at least a squad and converting them up to be sort of either breaches or phalanx warder look-alike type models. I thought that would be quite a good way to do that. That's not an easy conversion necessarily with the parts available to us at the moment. Or I say that, but yeah, that's what I kind of got ideas on. So I'm looking for. I'm going to try and put some next to Ran and see how that looks, and try some with
about the same
different
height.
Things. Well, it would make sense, wouldn't it?
Pretty much exactly the same height, and of course the backpack's the same, the shoulder pads are the same. Yeah, they work very well. What I've done with mine was, because I wanted to have fun, I stole the rotor cannons and the plasma guns. So I've got some heavy-looking dudes with some firepower, and there is one. I suppose the biggest contention with these models has been the spike on the helmet. I think there are a few other little things, bits and pieces. Some people don't like the backpacks, fair enough. The spikes on the helmets. So I cut mine off. And it wasn't until actually it was today when they released the how the specialist weapons and heavy weapons fit on the kit, which is really cool the way they've done it. But that I remembered they have spikes on, and I was like, oh yeah, actually I do prefer cutting the spikes off. Really easy to do, and I think they look super cool. So
That article that they put up today, which I think was a good move, actually, I've seen a lot of positivity, some much more than I was expecting over that. I thought, okay, that's a little nod to that they were doing that. That's cool. But people seem to be really taken with that, particularly their approach to releasing little tiny vambrace pieces that can take the shoulder-mounted shoulder-mounted heavy weapons that come with arms that are in notionally Mark 6 armor.
yeah,
And it allows you to sort of put the little vambrace on, which then makes it Mark 3 more compatible with that. And people seem to be really pleased to see that, and I can understand that. I mean, it would look a bit odd with the arms, sort of skinnier arms on those
yeah.
guys, and then chunky everything else. But it does look good, and that seems to have been quite a good way of dealing with it.
I did see one person with some negativity on it, and then like all the replies were like, "I'm not sure what you're talking about." Like, it's a really sensible way of dealing with an issue that is there,
Entirely.
because otherwise you have to then have multiple heavy weapon sets for each, any armor set you want
Ludicrous,
to do,
yeah.
and it's just not feasible for them
No.
to do. So yeah, you get all that, and they give you that little upgrade sprue in that box set, so you can have 5 of any of the, or 5 of each of the weapons if you want.
Two 5-man. You could have 2 5-man tactical support squads, and then either 2 10-man tactical squads or 1 big 20-man unit.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. The only what was when I was going through the sprue, you've got, it's quite funny, the augury scanner is like picked out in the build notes, like it's highlighted which one it is, which is quite fun. Which just made me chuckle really that people would do that. The only problem with the sprue I found was you've only got the 1 Vox and the 1 Vexilla per 10. So if you're breaking them down into smaller
I see.
squads.
What, into 2 5-mans?
Yeah, which is a minor thing. But
Yeah,
bearing in mind I'd done that.
particularly as it's sold. Yes, true.
Yeah.
That is true. As it's
minor.
put forward as a tactical squad, which is 10 or 20, I kind of get it. But yeah, I was surprised they don't have the chain bayonets. But they do
Well, I don't
have
think they have space.
Well, exactly. They've done what they can, haven't they, with what space available, and but that's the only thing. Just because I think the chain bayonet looks particularly good.
The bayonet,
being brutal on the Mark
armor.
III. Yeah, but they do come with bayonets. They do come with the knives if you need it. The classic bayonet, but the chain bayonet does look kind of cool. But probably going to have spares.
Yeah, you should be able to locate. I know some people are very keen to equip like their tacticals and things like that with chain bayonets or even bayonets and whatever. I think a lot of the time it's a trap. I think there are certain legions and certain units that benefit from it. Iron Warriors with their shorter range ammunition, their shrapnel ammunition, World Eaters maybe, like a few others, but most of the time your tacticals just die. So why are you bothering? But yeah, you can find. Yeah, it might mean that people are saving those sprues a little bit more than they used to. But yeah, I think the kit is fantastic. So they're kind of sort of based off that Mark 6 kind of design anyway, aren't they?
In terms of the pose,
in terms
and
of posing,
sort of proportions, yes, definitely. Obviously, to make them work with the special and heavy weapons as well, and to make them work as a unified range, if you like, to have them a contemporary range of designed Space Marines makes sense. I do like the update, and I think actually, despite the sort of proportions difference, I mean, you do get different heights of Space Marines, as all that's been discussed endlessly when the Mark 6 came out, but I don't think these look too bad next to Mark III, the previous Mark IIIs. If you were mixing them in, I'm going to do that with the guys I've got, and I quite like the idea of these perhaps being identified as a slightly different type of unit, perhaps as I say, like a retinue or something, or a special unit, and it's just a different pattern of the same mark
exactly.
of armor.
Made in a different Forge World,
Exactly.
that kind of thing. Certainly can use it that way. For me, I don't have Mark 3s painted up, so the Mark 3s I have, a fair few still on sprue, based on the price they're getting on eBay. Mine are going on eBay, and because I'll be able to buy new Mark 3s and save money basically, and still have money left over. So but that's purely based on the economics of the old kits selling. Like, I prefer these ones to the old ones because of that little jump in size. But I'm not,
It will be
whatever,
interesting to
basically.
see. I'm looking at them again now and just thinking. I wonder if these have a particular look, and it's quite an iconic look. I'm going to try some head swaps. I'm going to try some Legion specific heads. I think the previous Mark III head will be interesting on these. See how that looks and see if that fouls the collar. I haven't tried that yet, but I'd quite like to give that a go. But when you compare these with the Mark VI, I wonder how many people are going to say, "Oh yes, I remember trim." And painting
definitely.
it. Oh, that's a thing, isn't it? Which, of course, the Mark VI you don't have.
Literally just had a conversation about how I'm going to paint my Space Wolves, because there I am tempted, and people, by the time this is out, I might have made the decision, but I'm tempted to go with quite a different, like, not a massively different look to the paint for Space Wolves, but to include a bit more colour than you might see on many Space Wolf armies. Part of the reason being that if the interior of the shoulder pads is a different colour, you can get away with the trim being the same colour as the armour. Whereas if the shoulder pads are the same colour as the rest of the armour, then you kind of need to paint the trim differently. We don't, but within reason.
But as you say, otherwise it just looks perhaps like you've only base coated it. Even though
there are ways,
that would actually be logical that a trim and a thing would all be the same colour anyway.
The only other way you can get away without that is if you do like a half or a quarter scheme. But even then, sometimes you want the trim to then tie the model across. So, or you want to edge highlight, and I'm not edge highlighting, and and I'm just looking at it's basically there are. Like, every time I've talked to someone about this today, about what colours, I've had a different idea come into my head. I've got about 5 or 6 different ways of painting these Space Wolves, with different colours, different tones, painting certain areas and then not painting certain areas. How much do I do? Do I do both shoulder pads and a helmet, or do I do just one shoulder pad and a helmet? Because that can look quite good. So it's like, but I think I might go bold with them, which we shall see. But the Mark III
it's nice to see some variation like that. And I was thinking about potentially doing an Ultramarine Nemesis destroyers. Was possible because they're coming. They have the specialist. They're destroyers with bolt guns.
You're talking about variation?
Oh, no, I'm talking about what to do with the Mark III.
Yeah, I know. But it's there's lots of stuff you can do. That's kind of partly why I didn't mind taking the specialist weapons for them. Like, because if you're going to get up closer with plasma guns, like, why not have the heavier armor?
Well, I thought that, and I thought the same with heavy troops. Sort of thing. Well, they might be given the heavier armor because they're drawing fire. They don't need to move in the same way. Better to have them heavy armored to withstand that. And the same, as you say, with it, treating it as like close assault type, CQB kind of troopers rather than tactical squads who perhaps need to be more mobile.
I like
there's some interesting ways of deploying them.
The Derodeo went together really well. There was a couple of bits where I was like, okay, and then it kind of like, oh, it's sorted. I am not a fan of posing dreadnoughts. I am terrible at it, so I kept all the pegs in, didn't clip any off, didn't try and create any funky poses. Looks cool. Really like it.
I really like the Derodeo. I always have. I was a fan. I came into possibly not all wargaming, but my first foray into 28mm was Space Crusade and the Space Crusade Dreadnought. So the sort of certain design cues crossing over from that always spoke to me. Yeah, well, yeah, put the two next to each other nowadays. Wow. But I just think it looks cool.
Just from resin to plastic,
Mm.
it's, and I've gone with the plasma, but just I was contemplating magnetizing the weapons, and I thought, you know what, I can't be bothered. I'll get another one down the line at some point if I want another one. I've got an autocannon one. No, it's las cannon one. Can't even remember. Need to heat up the weapons a little bit and put them straighter, a little bit straighter. Like this one's plastic. Not gonna need that. So
The
yeah,
autocannons being particularly susceptible to that. The autocannon barrels
exactly.
going off in crazy directions or drooping, or then having to potentially swap it out with a
Yeah,
brass rod or something, and
but it's
a bit
yeah,
tedious.
it's you
No more.
expect this from GW plastic kits. It goes together really well. Um, sometimes there's more parts than you think there could be, but it's not too bad in that respect.
Kind of goes with the territory, doesn't it? The engineering,
Yeah,
these kind of things.
and you get like I was trying to work out, because you get a loyalist, a traitor, and then a plain kind of hull for it, and then you get like different crotch pieces, as it were, to choose from. So there's that little bit of customization along that as well, which you can decide how you want to go with it.
And it comes with the autocannons and the plasma cannons
Yeah,
for the
and the
arms,
rockets.
the rockets on the back, and then it's got heavy bolters and flamers
Yeah,
in
the
the
heavy bolters on.
chest.
Yeah, so obviously I suspect they'll do another pack with the other options in a separate
Yeah.
pack, and
So that'll
then
have the las cannons and the volkites
yeah,
and
which is the
the
problem
anti-air missiles.
if you want Volkite in your plasma. Like you have to buy both kits or do a swap.
Mm.
But it's again, that is what it is. Like you talk to your mates and do the deals, or buy two kits and
Yeah,
swap them
just
around.
no same as same issue with dreadnoughts
So
in general.
yeah,
Yeah, two dreadnought
I
kits
mean,
for each of the
slightly
patterns.
different
Fair enough.
with uh, Leviathan and this have got more weapons. So like the fact that you've got plasma rockets, okay, that's one set, but then having the whole weapons as well. But it's a minor thing, I think, at the end of the day. But this kit's going to fly, I think. I don't know what the price is, haven't really looked, but I think there's talk of
I believe RRP it's £50.
Oh no, I mean for the big box, the Battle Force.
Oh, the big box. I believe.
Yeah, something like a
believe
20% saving. Someone was saying, which is really cool.
yes. You're essentially you're virtually getting the dreadnought for free.
And really cool. Whether who knows why, but releasing everything separately as well. So if you do only want the dudes, maybe there's fewer people buying the box than there would otherwise have been and splitting it up because of the nature of having those available separately. Don't know
It
whether
has
that's
been.
because that was a plan or because they've had to compress release schedules. Who
I
knows?
quite like it. I quite like it as an approach to releases, allowing people to choose how they want to do it, like get everything and get it with a discount, or have only select items.
The big thing is it will take how much pressure it takes off, who knows, but it takes a little bit of pressure off the big box.
I have heard, well, not heard, I saw on their on the GW socials, on the Facebook comment, I believe they did confirm that it is once it's sold, it's gone. It's not coming back.
No, it's a
Box
Battle
set,
Force. It's not
the battle group as it is here. We were both
so
battle group.
this has been talked about. People are like, oh, it's limited, and it's like, well, only in the same way that all board games are limited, because at some point, unless you're Monopoly or Catan, they stop printing new runs after a while. If this sells out really well, they might do another run, but at some point they will stop ordering print runs. And that's the nature of the beast.
It's not like some of their products where they have cardstock in or something like that, where that becomes problematic and time consuming and presumably costly to do second and multiple print runs, but it would be doing a print run of the box. It's literally the outer packaging.
Absolutely. It's not a start collecting force that's designed to be there forever and ever. This is a nice collection that launches like the new Mark III, basically.
I think it's a really good set of models to have put in a box and to pitch it at a level lower than the Age of Darkness box, and to not have the rule book in, etc. It's not just another or a version or a new version of the Age of Darkness box set. I think it's quite well pitched to have this particular mix of models in, and to have pitched it at the price point they have. I think, what is it, 125, something like that, RRP?
Yeah, allegedly. Yeah, there's a price list going around, isn't there, somewhere? But it'll be interesting to see, because there's a lot of. I mean, I've had this conversation with another number of other kind of reasons behind it, but it's very easy when you've been in this game for so long. You know, this podcast has been running 10 years next year, and the game's been out for 13. Most of the people I speak to have been playing the game a while, and there's a lot of people excited to pick this up for expansion of a current army or their second or third army. But there are new players out there as well. So this adds quite well on to an Age of Darkness box, although you then got lots of tacticals, potentially. But at least you've got like a little set of... It doesn't take much to then get a heavy weapon set.
I was going to say, you tack a heavy weapon set onto this.
Yeah.
Or a heavy weapon set and a special weapon set, and you've suddenly got a hell of a lot of different options in there. 30 Marines in here, you've got 5 special weapons. Okay,
if you had this, an Age of Darkness box, and a couple of heavy weapons or specialist weapon sets, whatever mix, you've got your Terminators that can go in the Spartan, or you've got the Land Raider can carry certain units, and depending on rights of wars and things like that, Derodeo and a Contemptor to give you a bit of decent punch there as well. And then 30 guys in here? 30 guys in the Age of Darkness? Was it
40?
40. So 70.
So two 20-man tactical squads.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
And your heavy weapons and or special weapons covered with these Mark IIIs. So then the armors kind of look cool as well, the way it's set up. Yeah, I think that would look great.
Yeah, that's a good chunk of army. You don't need much more around that.
Not really. I mean, maybe a couple of rhinos, and
obviously it depends how you want to design
absolutely.
your army and everything else. But there's a lot you can do with that as a base. But yeah, super cool. So I've got a bit of a time pressure on to get at least a couple of these guys painted, but that'll be fun. I'm sure. Should we move on to the other half of what we were going to talk about?
Yeah, sounds good.
So we were also got to receive the new book that's out. Just going to go and get the title of it. Exemplary Battles of the Age of Darkness, Volume 1. Have you looked through the actual Exemplary Battles part of this book?
I have. Have you compared I have gone through. The only one I haven't gone through is the one that features the Night Lords. Sure. Although I did glance over very quickly at the unit profile to see if they, because I know some people were hoping to see the Atramentar, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Go to Weapon Skill 5, and they did not. I haven't done a comparison line by line of the rules from the previous PDFs and from this publication. The one that is stand out different is the, he says confidently, having not done the direct comparison, but what I believe is different are the Salamanders.
Yeah.
The Salamander squad is modelled certainly differently because they are using the new Mark III kit to show them off, and I believe they have different weapon options to what were shown previously and slight tweaks to those. I think some of the one or other of the other units has been tweaked. I hadn't actually read the lore previously, and I have read the lore for pretty much all of these, and I really enjoyed it.
Cool. We'll let Goonhammer or someone else tell you all the intricate differences between those. It's not part of the book I've read. I've kind of, in the time we've had this book, I've gone back to work and a few other things, and our kitchen's being ripped out and places of state. So I haven't delved into those yet. We'll get onto the rest of the book in a minute. How do you feel about this book being released as a book? Don't know how much it's going to cost. I haven't looked. Don't really know. I mean, it's not a small book. How many
112 pages.
112 pages. It's not the biggest book they've ever done, but it's reasonable size.
It's a funny one. I'm expecting, and I haven't seen it yet, even though it's obviously been up for pre-order and it's been announced for a while. I was expecting there to be a bit more skepticism, shall we say, about this. I thought people would be saying, well, these are PDFs, they're just printing things that were previously free PDFs. Why would I want that or otherwise? I actually haven't seen that much of that, because I thought actually that's a difficult thing to have a counter argument for. That is not
Valid.
all that's in this book. It's a valid opinion, I thought. And I thought, yeah, okay, I can kind of see where someone would be coming from. And I don't have the strongest of playing devil's advocate's counter arguments to that point either. That said, it is it's certainly in a lot of people's, I think, a mindset is I'd like to have a physical copy of this thing. I find them more useful in a game to be able to quickly refer to things. Obviously, you can do printouts and things, but it's nice to have professionally printed, prepared tome to be able to gather these things together. And clearly the intention is to draw all of the exemplary battles together. I'm a big fan of the lore, as I say, in those exemplary battles, but I could imagine some people having quite a skeptical view, saying, well, the rules for Fulgrim are in here, and then I'm buying the rest of this book, which is content from a free PDF. What the hell? I'm pleasantly surprised to have not seen more of that. I've seen a few people say there's nothing in this for me, so I may give this a miss. Perfectly fine, perfectly valid. On the other hand, it's got some very cool narrative stories in it, narrative lore descriptions of some significant battles and variant units. Variant units, I think, are always quite cool and exciting. That's kind of it. Just I'm surprised there hasn't been more skepticism.
Sure.
But maybe that'll be different when people get their hands on it.
I've
What's your feelings?
Definitely seen some questioning of. Yeah, they are printing free PDF stuff in half the book, and it's only how many are in there? I forget now.
I want to say 6, but let me just check.
Exactly. Let's have a little look. Where are we? Get to the right page. That's the problem with. So I'll reveal the curtain a little bit here. We don't get sent, or haven't been sent, a hard copy of this book. We've been sent a PDF. This is why you won't see photos of pages or people flicking through it. It's a PDF with, watermarks on it, which is absolutely sensible. Not a problem with that at all. So, yeah, we're in that bit where we're flicking through, and it always makes me wish I had, when I'm trying to find one piece of information, I had a physical copy, because it's so much quicker to be able to find stuff, unless you can search a document. But even
Which
then,
says a lot, doesn't it?
Even then, you've got to find the right. Well, even then, you've got to find the right reference of that word, and it can show you a number of places. And sometimes, what you're actually looking for is not specifically that word; it's a linking thing. But either way, so you've got the defense of Sotha.
There's 5 in total.
Yeah, Siege of Hydra Caudatus, the Battle of Armatura, Battle of Kauth, and the Purging of Invicustus sector, and then Daemon Primarchs, and within that, Legions Hereticus. So there is absolutely a case of why should I buy this book if I don't play Night Lords, Iron Warriors, World Eaters, Ultramarines, Salamanders, or Fulgrim. No problem. Don't buy it. Or Emperor's Children. Well, you can. Yeah, there's very few rules in there that don't involve Fulgrim. To be fair, because both rights of war need Fulgrim as well. So it's very limited if you're not taking Fulgrim.
Good point.
The question then is, I play salamanders. Am I having to buy this book for the 13 pages of salamanders, of which I want 2 pages of information? Yeah. Those people are going to find those rules and utilize them. You're just going to do it, aren't they? I don't necessarily have a problem with that. They're going to go to their mate who's got the book and say, can I have a look at that?
I very much doubt that that GW will update the Exemplary Battle PDF. I haven't heard that be said one way or the other for certain.
I wonder if they take them down.
Well, that's because otherwise it's going to be confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're going to have 2 sets of rules as well.
Exactly. So either they're going to have to update it, which I don't think they'll do, or they have to take it down.
Similarly, absolutely.
I can't imagine it's a good precedent to have a free version of something that's in a paid-for book.
No.
You could argue you're paying, obviously, for the thing to be. Anyone who's ever had a book printed and bound or attempted to do so knows the expenses of it. So, yeah, maybe people just want the hard copy. I would imagine we'll see those, though, be retired in favour of what's on here. Like you say, Are you keen to get it? Well, that's down to the individual, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, obviously, you have got, if you're a heresy buff, you've got the background. You've also got the missions attached to each exemplary battle. So there is more information than that, but mileage is going to vary for individuals. Absolutely. One thing, I was talking to someone and they were talking about basically where, compared to first edition, where's the hook for new players? The black books might have been expensive, but they were comprehensive and they were a luxury project, but be comprehensive in their background for the subject matter they were doing. Comprehensive, wide, and a wide expanse of that information. So you bought book 5 and you got a lot of detail about the Ultramarines, plus 2 or 3 exemplary battles of the Ultramarines, plus how their legion was set up, plus you name it, it was all there. We don't. If you get into Heresy now, you buy the Space Marine, the Legions book, like the Loyalist one. You get a handful of pages about Ultramarines. Okay, in this one, maybe you play Salamanders. You get that handful. You can add in the Purging of the Invocasta sector. Cool. Is that enough? Is the background? Are those exemplary battles? Are they enough? Are they up to first edition black book level writing about about the background?
It's a hard comparison, isn't it?
It's a hard
comparison because it's so fundamentally different.
But this is the only way we've seen anything remotely close to that based on the previous books they've released. With obviously you've got Chthoniya. It's slightly different, but Chthoniya's written in a different style. It's not black book, if you know what I mean.
It's not.
There's reasons for that and what have you, and I think at the end of the day it comes down to size of team and nature of how long it takes to write those kind of things, the effort involved and the payoff for that, rightly or wrongly. I think that's what we're going to see. But I think it's a fair comment to say that actually, I tell you what it was compared to is Necromunda. So this person, excuse us if that went a bit funny, recording issues, but I'm sure, as I say, I'm sure that when that person might talk about that at some point, either on their channel or another channel. But the independent characters were talking about the Book of Shadows, and this was compared to Necromunda, and how the latest books for Necromunda are amazingly jam-packed with lore. And I did point out that they weren't at the start. The first Necromunda books were quite light, and then they expanded upon it, and it was almost like they needed to get the game information out and get settled, and then as the books progressed, they got more detailed, thicker, much more going on within them.
They started to become, some of them become more focused as well. I mean, the fact that you have these codex-like, battle tome-like books that focus in on a specific house, gang, or otherwise, then they become a thing. But there are others that mixed up. Sorry?
Yeah, it took a couple of years to really get fully going in that respect, and maybe we're there with Heresy in that there's a lot of information to get out. We've now got PDFs for Ruin Storm Demons, which we're going to look at next episode. Hopefully I'll play the game with them. We've got the militia. We've still got Secret Army to come, so they're all good there, probably, definitely.
What the smart money would be on, but who knows?
And the insider money would probably be on from what I'm hearing.
Enough.
I haven't heard the rumor myself. I've heard the rumor of the rumor, but from people I trust.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. The solar,
it's just what we've seen with Legions.
Everything was pointing at solar anyway. So you've got all those. Once that secret army's out, then they've got all they've kind of done the groundwork for all the information for all the armies you probably expect. So once you've done that, you can then focus down. Obviously, these exemplary battles are going to keep coming out. Not a problem. They can add information into that as they go. Fully expect the next one to have 4 or 5 exemplary battles plus something extra. But I think that is the one kind of criticism that I sort of support. I don't think it's. I think it's a thing. I don't necessarily have a major issue with it, but we were definitely spoiled with first edition Black Books in terms of the quality and quantity of the background information that hasn't been lived up to here. And I think it's not merely a case of just saying, different writers. There's a fundamentally different approach.
It's a totally different approach. That's a key point. It's a totally different product pitched in a different way. It's hard to compare, but it's a book about heresy, and it's the types of books we're receiving. So I can see where the conversation is coming from, but they are not the same thing. And there's also that vast amount of information because, like you say, if you are playing a particular legion. And you say, "Oh, where can I get all my information about that?" "Oh, that'll be in book 7." Blah, blah, blah. "Oh, yeah, you can't buy that anymore." At some point, that information is likely, much like they do with codices and battle tomes, that information they're going to want to get that information out again. I mean, they own it, they have it. Well, exactly. It's just
codices.
Logically, one would see those multiples coming out that way. Those plurals coming out that way.
Well, yeah, codices is technically correct for books. Codexes is right for codexes.
I remember someone bringing that up at one of the weekenders, but yeah,
it's all good fun. And you've got 18 legions plus solar plus demons plus custodes plus sisters of silence plus Necromunda has 8 gangs.
6.
No,
6 core house gangs.
Grinders. Yeah. But then you've got
now they've expanded it considerably. Well, enforcers.
Enforcers.
Ironhead squats. There's ash wastes. Loads of things now.
Yeah, but So 9, 10, and I don't think they're all going to get their own book in the same way as those core ones. Are they going to release 18 codexes for the legions? Not sure they are, but down the line, I'm sure we'll get much more information, and they'll keep expanding, and they'll probably do it through exemplary battles and then war zones. That's how I feel they're going to do it. They're going to tell the story of the legions through war zones, through Siege of Cathonia, through Paramar, through Beta Garman. Whatever they choose to do, because also as well, I mean, someone was talking about the need for an ongoing narrative, and I do think Heresy is different in that respect. 40k has an ongoing narrative because it can go onwards. Heresy has a timeline that is set and has been completed, so probably should be handled more as a setting than an ongoing narrative. which does allow them, and I hope they do this, to really just jump around in the time scale and just go, what story do we need to tell? These legions haven't had anything. Where do they fight? Okay. Oh, there's this little snippet of information over here. We can cover that. That happened in 3.5 years into the heresy. Cool. It doesn't matter when it happened. We need to highlight those forces fighting, because if your ongoing narrative, you've got 54 novels plus 8 Siege of Terror books. You've got an ongoing narrative there. So
there does feel it's interesting because this book being around 100 pages, there feels like there would be more than enough content from that was written for the Black Books for a specific legion. Let's say I want to do an Ultramarines Legion Codex or something like that. You could probably put together 80, 100-page type of document with the material they've got. However, you haven't got that many, unlike a codex or a battle tome, you don't have that many unique units and data sheets or whatever to actually put in there. In terms of the gaming content, in terms of the rules, it's quite light. So it seems unlikely that you would release a single book for a single legion. You would start grouping them together and then you make them into battle books.
Well, the other thing is you don't want 18 books out on your shelf just for legion.
No, exactly.
Right, no. It's completely out of what you need to do. So I think we're going to end up.
There are 28 codexes for 40k.
Fundamentally different codexes. Apart from the Space Marines, obviously, which meld.
Well, no, I think you're right. No, I think they are fundamentally different because the Space Marine Codex is enormous because it has all of the Space Marine units in.
Yeah, but I mean the Space Wolf one doesn't.
True.
Like the Space Wolf one will have the Space Wolf specific units and add on to the Space Marines. So could they do that? But then you still need one main book plus 18 other Legion books. It's a lot.
It is. And I think it's unlikely.
Plus, that also then, when do you come back to do them? 18 books. When do you then go? Oh, it's the turn of the Imperial Fists. And then you've got to wait 18 books to get anything specific more. It's not. I don't think that system works.
It's not
that
a model
well
they would do.
For Heresy. No. Which ultimately means you're always going to have to carry more than one book or more than one book's worth of information around for Heresy. There are ways they can approach doing that, because that's the other problem with this. You've got your rule book, you've got your Legion Loyalist or Traitor book. You then want to go, oh, I want to use my one squad from this exemplary battle. Brilliant. I bring that whole book. So what's quite interesting here, we don't have the exemplary battle for the Emperor's Children. So if you want to play Legions Hereticus Emperor's Children, you want to use Sunkillers, when that exemplary battle book comes out, you need at least 3 books. It's a lot to carry around, so people won't do it.
And it's a lot to rifle through. Yeah,
it is a lot to rifle. So there needs to be. Now, there is an argument that, like the Black Book information, I suspect will be on Warhammer, the Vault at some point. So if you can sign up to Warhammer Plus, should it be locked behind that paywall? Should there, should it be locked behind that one specific paywall way of paying
or
for
that one specific medium, if you like?
Media. Could they sell that information much like they've reprinted Rogue Trader? Could they just take the rules section out of it and sell those books either digitally, or there was a long time ago, there was talk about taking the rules out of the older Black Books where those rules had been superseded. There was a discussion at Forge World of the early books 1, 2, 3. Do we just pull all the rules out because they're out of date? The unit entries, like all of them were out of date by book 6 or whatever. And do we just print the background? And I think there was a little bit of a hesitation around doing that. But I think back then they would have sold.
Didn't they do something like that with Siege of Vrax, where that was originally 3 volumes and they released it as a 2-volume? They sort of consolidated it down.
I can't remember. I don't remember.
Siege of Vrax did something along those lines. Or was it Bad Ab? Pretty sure it was Siege of
digitally now,
Rats.
they could provide that information as a digital product. So if you do want, because all that information is out there, it's all pretty much, none of it's really changed. So you could sell that as a digital product. I want to play Ultramarines. Cool. I can go and pay 15 quid for a digital background taken from, or I can buy book 5, Tempest, Bosch. There's my Ultramarines background information, which I think would be a good idea, because it just allows those deeper roots of collecting your Legion, which currently is not really in the like the kind of sales area of Heresy at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. It's not available. It's hard to get a hold of via in a formal, reliable way.
In a legal way, because it's all out there.
Basically.
And at the end of the day,
it is, and it's. But I was thinking things where people have written up versions of it on wikis and things like that, rather than full-on versions. And you think, okay, that's lore, but I've got no idea how accurate that is.
No. But if someone really wants
to the original source,
if someone really wants it, they're going to go and get it. We've lived in this digital world for long enough to know that they will go and get it. So why don't GW say, here you go, don't go and have to search for it. Here you are for a reasonable price. Digital only product is background information.
Convenience and quality.
It with other things. Absolutely, yeah.
It wins out. It tackles a whole bunch of those things.
I think that would be a strong move from them. I'm not sure we're going to see it, but
no, I agree.
I think it's a shame.
I think that's unlikely.
Because it also helps when they talk about. I know the game's changed a little bit, but when Heresy is talked about as a narrative game, the things that make it a narrative game are giving you the narrative, because it creates the atmosphere of the game that you're playing. And the more you have of that, the less like a tournament game it feels, because you've got that world. If all you're giving is rules, then you've got a game. If you're given huge amounts of background, fair play, they're doing it with the Exemplary Battles and other stuff. You've got a setting in which you play a game.
Yes, and I would argue that is where the Necromunda analogy is an interesting one, because I would argue that is almost so lore rich now in via a method other than through novels, because there aren't that many Necromunda, there are some, but it's through gaming supplements. And it's got a game of a type that it just doesn't lend itself well to a sort of tournament or even event style thing. It's just campaigns all day for that.
But also it's tailored campaigns where people talk about what rules they are and aren't going to use, because the game will break as soon as people try to be overly competitive with it. So the lore helps do that as well. But cool. So that's Exemplary Battles. I want to come back to them at some point. You said, feels like hours ago now because I've rambled on. But you were talking about the legitimacy of a printed product, and I think we've seen that with people still asking questions about whether they're allowed to use certain units because they're in the Legacies PDF or whatever it's called. There is something about Games Workshop providing a hard copy purchasable book which adds legitimacy to the rules within that book. I don't mind reading on a screen PDF or whatever, but I'm a little old fashioned. Maybe the younger people who deal more, it's a legitimate kind of question to pose. If you're used to everything being digital, then maybe there's less of an issue for you. But the fact that they've collected them together in this feels like a proper product. Feels like it's, I think, particularly free PDFs of a handful of pages, like 10 pages or whatever, online. You sometimes question how much, rightly or wrongly, you can question how much time and effort has gone into the playtesting, the rules, things. Once you put it into a book, it feels like cool. They've had to make the decision to put that into a book, and that could be complete. That could be a complete fallacy in terms of how much effort's put in, then they could put as much effort into each, but it feels different. It feels like they're backing their product a lot more once they're saying buy this.
Consolidating it, as you say, sort of authoring it in some way and putting it forward rather than it almost being in draft form that it feels like, even though that's not the case.
No, exactly.
Just got to got that feel somehow.
Yeah. And, perception is everything at the end of the day. Absolutely.
Particularly over something like this where you want quality, which is kind of what they're pushing forward with this.
Absolutely.
So then there is another part to this, of course. There's the Hereticus.
Indeed. So the new stuff: Legion, Hereticus, and Daemon Primarchs. So gorgeous new model. £175 apparently.
Oh, really?
Someone said to me, there's a rumor, we haven't received it or anything like that. I don't know that price. Again, this is a thing. I've heard the scuttlebutt. Someone said to me, how much do you think it's going to be? And I was like, Carpander is 230 quid. He's not as big as filled out as Carpander, but it's chunky, a big model with lots of bits on it. I basically said up near 200. And someone was like, really? And I'm like, well, everything's gone up in price. Like, is it expensive? Yes. Is it a damn fine model which looks so stunning that
is it high cost? Yes.
Yeah. Is it high quality?
Is it expensive? That's a different thing, because expensive suggests it's not good value, and then that's and value judgment's a tricky one.
Yeah, absolutely. Had it looked a bit iffy, had there been issues with it, suddenly that price cost is looking a lot worse. Like, you can get away with stuff when you've produced absolute quality. Everyone's going to make their
when you look at the effort and work that would have been necessary to just even remotely do the armor, the scales, everything that's gone into it, the sculpting of that model. It's a work of art by any measure, and it is enormous with the wings and the other things that are going on. It's much more than a Primarch.
No, and partly, you just have to walk down your local shop to see how much everything's gone up. You know, again, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I am not diminishing £175 as being a lot of money for a toy soldier, no matter what the toy soldier is. I wasn't surprised, is my answer, based on where we are in the world. GW's pricing model, resin, large stunning model.
I am a little surprised to hear. That's the first time I've heard that said. However, when you think about it for a bit of time, you're not actually, I can see it. I can see
if I was buying it, would I want it to be 25 quid cheaper? Of course I would. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
If I was an Emperor's Children player, I'd probably be saving up to buy it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I think sometimes, maybe people will call me a shill or whatever. Fine. I don't really care. Yeah. Every now and then you think, even when you think something is more expensive than it should be, for whatever, I'm talking about whatever it is here, whatever you're into, you sit there and think, actually, I am still going to save up and buy it because it's what I want.
I find it really difficult with people saying, well, that's too expensive. Yeah, it's too expensive. If it's because it's a luxury item, as all of this is, it can be whatever price it wants to be. They don't owe you anything. It can be whatever. It may fail as a result of being overpriced and not enough people go and buy it. They don't sell enough. But that's how these things work. They don't. It's not like, well, they've killed it because they made it too expensive. Well, maybe they have, but I don't think they have with this. I think it's a luxury item. It can be whatever it needs to be.
I mean, the only difference with this is someone can, someone's going to go and 3D print and goes there. Whatever. Yeah. But you're not going to stop. Those people can do that anyway. But
also, good luck finding a 3D file that's good enough to do that, and good luck actually printing it. And then how much is your time worth?
All the stuff that goes with it. But
But that's also true of even converting one. Yeah, you could convert a very good likeness of this with Marathi and a couple of other bits and pieces starting to fuse together. Yeah, you could. But how long is that going to take you?
those things are oft overlooked by the kind of people who put those comments anyway.
Yes.
I'm looking at me and the missus. Our birthdays are 5 days apart. Maybe we'll go to the theatre in London to see a show. Maybe we want to go and heard really good things about Back to the Future. Cool. Look up the tickets for that. You can sit in the gods for a very reasonable price. If you want to sit with a half decent seat, you are paying a lot more money.
Yeah.
And you know what I do? I start at a seat and I slowly go backwards till that price matches what I want to pay for where we're sitting. And sometimes you go a lot. I did the reverse at the basketball in New York. You can go to watch the Brooklyn Jets. I can't remember if I got that right. For like $40. You can go to New York Knicks at Madison Square Gardens, and I didn't even get close to the court by the time we were looking at $250 a ticket. Not even remotely close. And I kept going down, going, well, I might as well pay the extra 30 and go that extra 2 seats further down. And then I had to put it all the way back. You find your value.
It's true. So many things. Yeah, it's funny you should mention that. I mean, gig tickets were making me be surprised. What was it?
Yeah.
They opened that new venue in. We're going off topic, but they opened that new venue in Las Vegas. That giant dome that they've done with this illuminated domes with screens in it. Tickets to the opening shows to that, which were done by U2, started at $400.
I'd pay that
for a
to
gig.
watch U2.
Well, this is it.
I like U2. I think
exactly.
For a one-off gig, I'll do it.
The amount of money people were spending on things like Taylor Swift tickets and stuff, it's a different league. It's about what you value. It's about what you value.
Absolutely. And if you're Legion, if you do one Legion, you do Emperor's Children. It's the only thing you do. 175 becomes findable almost. If you're playing this game.
If you value it, yeah.
Anyway,
that's another thing that doesn't really affect
amazing.
This book.
I cannot wait to see if they've given it to say. I know some painters were talking about Golden Demon entries, things like that around him, whether they will or not because of the size of it and because of transporting and whatever. Some painters are really loving that model. I can't wait to see them do it. So we have a Daemon Primarch unit type. Is it worth going over a little bit of that?
I think it probably is, because it is quite significant, as it is a whole new unit type.
Yeah, I mean,
weirdly, I'm sort of more interested. I'm sort of more interested in that the Legion's Hereticus exists as a principle, but Daemon Primarchs I think is worth touching on.
I mean, we'll go. Basically, from Primarchs to Daemon Primarchs, you lose Fearless Game Fear, right? But you're also immune to fear as well. I'm dropping pens everywhere, which is really annoying because I was using it to point for myself. No pinning, no falling back. Right, all those kind of things you expect with demons. It is both a demon and a Primarch, so you're getting those Primarch rules for, you're still being able to choose where all your hits go. You're still not having any of your stats reduced. I don't use and haven't played against Primarchs very often, and I kind of forget how powerful they are now compared to first edition. It's still got It Will Not Die 5+, bulky 6 as a base for any Demon Primarch. Minimum is quite a lot. Of course, Internal Warrior. Demon Primarch must be general.
He is a Primarch plus, isn't he?
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah. Is all Demon Primarchs
with some. Exactly. Demon Primarchs are just Primarchs plus. They're not. Yeah. There's not some downsides, is there? They are just fundamentally stronger.
No, because if they lose combat, they can take wounds. Or if they fall back, isn't it? If they're forced to fall back, does not fall back as per if it's. Unit contains one or more models with Demon Primarch unit type, fails a morale check. The unit does not fall back as per the standard rules, but instead suffers D3 automatic wounds with no saves of any kind allowed. Now, obviously, he's immune to fear and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Which all helps. Cannot be pinned, all that kind of stuff. But potentially takes extra wounds is potentially a downside because Although you're not running away, you might get away, that kind of thing. But then that's Primarchs. Don't run away. It's fine. So he's taking wounds, which is interesting. Because they can't be shrugged
Limited
off
number of
unless
wounds, but wounds, yes.
exhausted. Yeah, absolutely. But it can make all the difference if you're in a big fight.
Oh yeah,
I mean, the
definitely.
fact
Yeah.
he's
3
got,
wounds is heavy.
when we're talking about Demon Primarchs, are Primarchs plus. He's got +1 move, +1 strength, +1 toughness, +1 wound, +1 attack. So he's strength 7, toughness 7 wounds with 7 attacks at weapon skill 8. It's not bad. So yeah, we are dealing with Primarchs plus. He's also got his wings anyway, so the movement thing is what it is. But movement 9 or movement 14 if he's using his wings, cool. Of course, the rules then change around Fulgrim, the base Fulgrim to Demon Fulgrim. So he's got new Warlord trait. Let me get my old book out as well, because it's all fun. So he's the Avatar of Perfection, which he has to take. During your charge subphase, you must attempt to charge if there are any units that contain any models with an unmodified weapon skill characteristic of 6 or more that are within 12. So obviously, if you've got more than one, you can choose. This does allow a unit that contains a model with this Warlord trait to charge a different unit from the one they made a shooting attack with. And that is a rare rule.
That is very rare. It is in the Legion's Hereticus section. There's some abilities like that, and it very clearly says no. You won't be charging someone when you shot someone else. So as you say, that is quite unusual.
Yeah. And obviously it depends what unit you can. He's only going to do so much, but you put him with a type of unit, some Terminators or what have you, with some heavy weapons, you can destroy a tank, charge a unit, slaughter them. Can do a lot of damage, which is cool. He must issue a challenge, and it must be Fulgrim that's the challenger. If it's accepted by an enemy model with a weapon skill 6 or more, so he's not a Primarch or Demon, you hit on 2 pluses regardless of weapon skill. He's a bully, which we see. Like that is Demon Primarch. The fact he must issue a challenge is a negative, which I quite like, because it's a subtle negative that fits his character, but allows you to, as you said, he's got 7 attacks. Yeah, you might win the combat, but you're also saving your models.
Yeah.
Which might then allow you to win the longer fight, particularly going into, say, Terminators, depending on what unit Fulgrim's with, obviously. But if you go into Justarian, who can all step up and go, cool, mate, I'll take your 7 attacks and I will get slaughtered. Meanwhile, I'm going to fight the bodyguard unit, and if I come off better, I'm going to start piling hits onto you by 2nd or 3rd round, if we're still there.
Does the person accepting the challenge have to be weapon skill 6?
Nope.
So
if the challenge is accepted by an enemy model, normal.
So as long as the unit has an individual, a model in there with a weapon skill of 6 or more. Okay, yeah, so it contains any models.
No. If what you mean?
I'm just saying, who does he have to charge? He has to charge and declare a challenge if there is someone out there with a unit with them or otherwise with a weapon skill of 6.
No, he has to declare a charge if there's a weapon skill 6 or more within 12 inches. In the subsequent fight subphase, the controller player must issue a challenge.
Yes. It doesn't say that challenge. If the challenge is accepted by an enemy model with a weapon skill.
Stop. Ignore that. There's the question of, does the issuing a challenge, because it's part of this rule, does it only come into effect if you've charged the weapon skill 6 model unit? Which I think there's an argument to say it does, because it's part of this rule. But it's not clear. I could see people saying, because this is the way I read it, and now you've question that, which is quite cool. I'm not sure. So yeah, does it basically? Yeah, I think you're probably right. Actually, he only has to challenge if there's a weapon skill 6, which makes him a lot safer to be charging into stuff. Because say I'm playing Space Wolves and I charge you with my Varagir, who weapon skill 5 go up to weapon skill 6 on the charge. That hasn't happened after a charge phase where he's had to charge a weapon skill 6 unit.
Correct.
Therefore,
And I
he does not have to challenge.
No, because I think the key there
Yeah.
is in this rule, Avatar of Perfection says in the subsequent sub-phase.
And it's
It
part
links
of that.
them.
It would have, for whether they want it to or not, for it to be every fight phase, it would have to come under a separate part. Like in addition, every fight phase, or in addition, this model must always challenge. So yeah, that's cool. So he's hunting out good fighters to prove he's better than them.
Yes, but he's doing that on his terms.
Yeah,
he's sort of obliged to do that on his terms, in his term, but he's not obliged to do it in reaction.
Cool.
Effectively, that's the wrong word, but
So you can utilise that and try and avoid that by being outside of 12 of units you don't want to charge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then all of that, in addition, the first reaction made each game turn by Fulgrim Transfigured, and his unit does not use a point of the control player's reaction allotment. It's quite a powerful rule because it's not limited to a phase. So you get a free reaction every game turn for Fulgrim.
I don't remember seeing that in anything else.
No.
I mean, it's with anything else.
No, that's slightly different than anything else. That's quite cool. I mean, we should say he's 600 points. He's 175 points more than Fulgrim.
I do like that he is 600 as well, as a Slaneshi player.
Yeah.
I thought
that's not going to continue, is it? But so you have got, so that's an interesting one. Because the old regular Fulgrim, all friendly models that can draw line of sight use his leadership, and also have +1 to the wound value used to calculate if a unit has 1 close combat. Oh, sorry, I didn't realise actually that reaction is Fulgrim's reaction from the original rules as well. So Fulgrim, both versions of Fulgrim don't use upper reaction. I haven't played against him, so that hasn't come up. So that's cool. It's cool they carried that over. But so original Fulgrim cared about his people, and his people cared about him. This Fulgrim just wants to prove he can beat up on some dude. Fair enough. Cool. He's got a 2+, 4+ invulnerable save. And when he's 4 or fewer wounds, he gets +1 to it will not die special rule. So he goes down to a 4+. That's cool.
That's pretty strong.
If at any turn you start at 2 or fewer wounds and not locked in combat, you may choose to remove him from play as a casualty. If you do, the enemy get no objectives or secondary objectives that they would normally get for destroying him.
Quite like
represents the fact that he is a bully, and as soon as he's in trouble, he's like, "Oh, I don't even have to be here." This
is beneath me. Yeah, I thought that was a nice little
move. Like Saturnine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it fits Fulgrim's character so well because he's like, actually, I'm in it for me, and if there's any danger to me, why am I here? I don't care about any of this.
Yeah.
What's interesting is his gilded panoply from his original rules gave him a 3+ invulnerable save against melee attacks. So he's slightly less on that, which is nice. I quite like that. Again, as that bit of a challenge. I think a demon with a 3+ invulnerable save there as well. Like bearing in mind he's down to 7, just all adds on. It might have been a bit too much, even at 600 points. His weapons, we saw his weapons, didn't we? So at the start of each combat, you choose one of the weapon profiles. So decapitating slashes, strength as used at AP2 melee, murder strike 4+, not bad. Or thundering blows +3 strength, 1 AP, brutal 2, raffle blows 3 and unwieldy, unwieldy. Wrathful Blows basically limits you to 3 attacks. But if you're going to go into a bunch of tanks, you're going to be strength 10. So
yeah, strength 10, weapon skill 8, brutal 2, yeah,
or even a
81.
dreadnought, you might choose to go into. You know, you're going to be hitting on 3s, and you're going to be wounding on 2s, and you've got brutal 2, and your AP2, AP1, even. So they're relying on invulnerables. So maybe you choose that, or maybe you just go with murder strike on 4+.
Strength 7, yeah.
It's strength.
Still, strength 7 is pretty good.
Yeah, it's just that you need those 4+ then.
Yeah.
But yeah, you compare that to the Blade of the Lair, Duelist Edge 1, Fleshbane, Mastercrafted Specialist Weapons, or Fireblade, Murder Strike 5+ Mastercraft Specialist Weapon, or both AP2. Cool. I mean, the one different thing's here, because you can't look at the weapons without also looking at combat abilities. You lose the additional attacks if you're in a challenge that Fulgrim had. So original Fulgrim gains a number of additional attacks equal to the amount of his initiative is greater than his opponent. So he has 1 less attack, but whilst he's in a challenge, has probably quite a few more at initiative 8. So against a lot of stuff, you're getting 3 or 4 extra attacks in a challenge, and adding up those points, and you're still, original Fulgrim against anyone who's not super powerful, got a very good vulnerable save, is still doing a shed load of wounds. So a bit of a difference there. He doesn't get to cancel a reaction like he did in the first one, but you do get access to the Legion Hereticus and his wings, of course. This is a fast dude.
I was going to say that makes a huge difference.
Plus his, if you want to be able to run him to get him into position, he's initiative 8. You can move 22 inches turn 1, with a run. If he's by himself, probably won't be, but you've got options there. If you're reacting, there's a movement reaction. You've got initiative 8 on that. You've got the wings as well. So I like him. I think the It Will Not Die 4+, the what else you got? He's a Master of the Legion, obviously. Move through cover as well, so he's maintaining that speed. The charge thing's cool, but not over the top. I think he's powerful. I don't think he's, when you compare it to other Primarchs, I don't think it's over the top powerful for the points you're paying. Obviously, the ability to pull him out of the game at 2 wounds and not lose points from it, like if he's in a lot of trouble and you've just managed to fight that little bit of space, but you're aiming down 10 las cannons, or whatever, or even 5 dudes with plasmas, you're like, I'm gonna take him off here, and you're not going to get points from him. Is a powerful ability that can swing a game. I think
it would be an easily overlooked ability as well. I think that's actually quite sneaky powerful.
So you are paying quite a lot extra in 175 points. You are getting some decent upgrades, but you're also losing some decent rules as well. But say the It Will Not Die, and then that means he's sticking around longer than, or not being a liability if they can actually deal with someone. And the speed as well.
I do think he lives up to a sort of centerpiece model.
Yeah.
I mean, type environment even more so than a Primarch does, though. I don't think he's lost anything sufficiently that it makes it. That's a shame. He's going to be this. And
if he's in the middle of the table, he can leave a unit, go and join another unit. 14 inches plus his charge range is, it's a lot of table area to cover.
Yeah, the threat range is enormous.
The threat range is massive. So, and with the Primarchs being as powerful as they are now, he can join a unit, a tactical squad unit, and if he's not charging something with weapon skill 6, he doesn't have to challenge. So if someone challenges him, Sergeant steps up. and Fulgrim can still murderize the unit. Fulgrim wasn't slow originally, but the fly and the ability to move over units as well.
And
It's
terrain,
a powerful in terrain. It's a powerful
built-in
ability.
delivery system.
So it
it's
feels
very
like
strong.
Whether those points are enough or too much, whatever really. Feels like 175 points is not a bad additional payment on that. I'm not going into the math hammer to work it all out. Okay.
If you're taking Fulgrim and you want to bring his legion with him, you are now obliged to make them Legion Hereticus.
Yes. So,
or specifically, we should say, if you're bringing Fulgrim Transfigured, you're bringing Legion Hereticus, slightly even more warped versions of the Emperor's Children.
So all the units with the Legion Astartes Emperor's Children. So you can have. So if you had allies for other legions, they don't have to be Hereticus.
True.
According to that rule. Can't remember what the Legion's Hereticus, because this is slightly wordy how to use them, isn't it? So basically, if you take Legion's Hereticus, you replace Legion's Emperor's Children with Legion, with the Legion's Hereticus.
What's fundamentally it's the word Astartes is being replaced with Hereticus.
Right. And so you
instead of Legion Astartes, Emperor's Children, you're replacing it with Legion Hereticus, Emperor's Children.
So, but basically you build it exactly the same. But just swapping those words around. But that means you lose any benefits, options, or war gear that are available, in this case, to Emperor's Children.
Yes. So to Legion's Astartes, Emperor's Children.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything in that book, the traitor book, you lose that, basically, all the optional stuff.
Unless and then that is replaced with what's in this book.
Indeed. Units with a pre-selected variant of the Legion's Astartes X special rule, such as the Emperor's Children's Palatine Blade Squad, retain the same Legion variant. So if it's built into their squad, they still get those options. They still get whatever it is. They get a new advanced reaction. So what's the Emperor's Children current advanced reaction? It's a charge one, isn't it?
It effectively means, yes, instead of being charged, they charge.
Yeah, you roll off, don't you, and add initiative or something like that. And if you roll higher than the enemy, you charge them instead of them charging you.
Cool. I didn't remember that there was a condition on it like that. Yeah. I thought it just happened, but sounds right.
90% sure that's how it happened.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So it's no Space Force. It's not quite. I think the Space Force charge reaction is the best charge reaction. I think the Imperial Fist one's probably second. I think the Emperor's Children one's probably third. You could argue different ways on that. The Space Wolf one allows a different unit to charge, which is amazing, really. So cool. The Emperor's Children Hereticus rule
Twisted Desire.
Yeah, once per battle, when opposing player's shooting phase declares a shooting attack, the reactive player's control, blah, 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 blah. Just as long as you're not falling back, which you can't react if you're falling back anyway. I think so. You immediately become stupefied and add 2 to the stupefied roll being made. So stupefied is the new thing, which is interesting. So that's it. You become stupefied and add 2 to the roll. We should probably go to stupefied.
That would certainly help.
What they do. It's interesting. I think it took me a little while to kind of get my head around it properly.
Yeah, I had to read it in detail. It's quite long, but it's a thing. Yeah.
So stupefied is something you can do every time you're being shot. If you're not falling back,
the reason you can do it is because that becomes their kind of Legion trait, if you like.
Exactly.
It becomes their Legion special rule, and wonderfully named Lords of Profligacy, which I thought was cool.
A great word as well.
Yeah. And this is every time, as you say, that it's not a reaction. It's in this case, it's the advanced reaction we were talking about before. It just happens.
It's not a capital R reaction.
No,
it's something you do in response to being shot. So Yeah, you can do it just as long as you're not falling back. If you're pinned or affected by blind or concussive, you ignore those effects while you're stupefied. So it can have positive benefits for that kind of thing as well. So however, if you are stupefied, you cannot fire snapshots. Oh, sorry, you can only fire snapshots and you cannot make reactions in any phase. If you charge whilst stupefied, you are always considered to be disordered. However, while stupefied, you get +1 strength characteristic, and possibly more importantly, when you suffer an unsafe wound, you can make a stupefied roll to ignore it. 6+ normally on a 6+, the unsafe wound is ignored. It's damage mitigation. As normal, add 1 to stupefied rolls for units which have the fearless special rule. So your reaction gives you a 4+ damage mitigation roll. Your advanced reaction. Normally you get a 6+. If you're fearless, you get a 5+. Cool.
And you get the 4+ with the advanced reaction. Is that say for 1 unit, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 1 unit.
You get that, but it does have consequences. It has consequences that you can't make reactions, and you can only fire snapshots.
Yep, and you can only disordered charge, but you are +1 strength as well.
That's true.
Whilst you're stupefied. So at the end of your control and player's following turn, the unit is no longer stupefied. So if you're shot, you get it for your whole turn. While it's stupefied, you do not take further morale checks, which is good in the movement phase or shooting phase, and cannot be pinned. So again, you're ignoring pinning and not running away. If you are forced to move, for example, it has to fall back, losing combat, something like that, or maybe a psychic power makes you do that, or whatever. It is no longer stupefied, so you can lose your stupefied status. If assaulted, the unit will fight as usual, but the enemy do not receive the initiative penalty for having charged through terrain or whatever. So cool, they're too stupefied to react.
They're too lost in themselves.
Yeah. And again, charges, it reiterates, charges are disordered. Unit that are locked in combat can be stupefied, but take morale checks in the assault phase as normal, and if forced to fall back, are no longer stupefied. So it's an interesting rule. It's survivability, a little bit of strength, ignore pinning, like control of not running away. Cool. But you are snap shooting, so combat armies are going to benefit more from this. And the damage mitigation, yeah, it's it'll be interesting.
Quite like
kind
it.
Of armies.
It's worded quite. It takes a few readings because it sort of feels. You look at that initially and think, this is complicated. This is going to be difficult. It's going to require some nuance to use or otherwise. Actually, I don't think it is. It's just being cautious about covering a range of different, because it can happen and affects quite a lot. It's something that needs to be carefully worded, or thoroughly worded, perhaps. It seems quite effective, though. It does seem quite effective. I would have thought it's going to have utility for sure.
Yeah, because even if you've got a shooting unit, if you're going to be wiped out, you might as well stupefy, because snapshots are better than no shots.
And that +1 strength is going to come in quite handy.
Yeah,
and you then the fact that you are more durable and you're stronger. I think there's a lot of times that's going to be handy.
Yeah, but for a heavy support squad,
it's not
going to be handy. But if it keeps you alive to shoot again, then there's a balance to be had as to whether even those, like, it's an option. It's another option, because actually, they would be getting, like, if you're not Hereticus, if you're normal Imperious Children, you're getting Fulgrim's leadership if you're taking Fulgrim. Because remember, you don't have to take Fulgrim to be Hereticus. You need a where is it? There are restrictions. You need a is it a Master of the Legion? Trying to remember. No, maybe not. Any unit with this special rule.
Some of obviously the Rights of War do, but not the...
Class Space Marines may be included in the conjunction. Only units with a trait allegiance can gain a special rule, and when selecting allegiance for a unit with special, you can only select traits. Nope. So it's just you choose it. Yeah, I was trying to remember. There's something later on. I think I'm confusing that with one of the warlord traits, which specifies how you take it, basically.
The
Cool.
warlord
So,
traits here, it references
not warlord
the
traits.
traitors books.
Right of war. I'm thinking of, but
Yeah,
that's cool.
the
So
the
yeah, so
warlord
you
traits
don't.
that link to this, they link back to the
Yeah,
Liber Hereticus.
but what I'm saying is, you can take these without taking Fulgrim. So if you weren't taking Fulgrim before, you weren't getting the leadership bonus, which you would lose by being stupefied, right? Kind of thing. But you're not taking morale checks if you're stupefied as well. So like, I mean, the real powerful ability is you go and stand on an objective, and you go, cool, I'm going to stupefy, and I'm not going to take any more morale tests this phase.
Yeah, and I can't be pinned.
And I can't be pinned. Yeah. So.
And I'm more durable.
Yeah, I mean, you're snap shooting anyway, so the pinning in that respect doesn't do too much if you're just hoping to stay around. But the ability to not take more morale test is pretty good. So I like stupefied. Potentially really powerful ability, particularly if you're building more of a combat army. Divine instruments. So we get some new. We get the Armory of Indulgence. We'll deal with in a bit. The Phoenician Hubris, my iPad is playing it. So models with special rule may not select the Phoenix Warden console upgrade. So that's taken off. In addition, Phoenix Terminators with a special rule replace living icons with Fallen from Grace, which we'll do here when my iPad catches up. So Fallen from Grace. So actually, let's check what.
Fallen from Grace is immediately below. Yeah, and it's.
Yeah, no, I'm checking the what they have normally. So Fallen from Grace is +1 to see who wins a fight.
Yeah.
If you're within 6 inches of a friendly Legion Hereticus, so you're showing off unit. If you're within 6 inches of Fulgrim, you get +2 because you're really showing off. Let's have a little look. Phoenix Terminator Squad. What did they have before? Living Icons. Where's see page 155 because it's a base rule. Cool. So living icons is +1. It's +1 if you're within one model within 6 inches of a model with a special rule. Okay, so basically, living icons is other people are inspired by you, so they get the +1. A model with you get it as well. A model with this special rule, and all models within any friendly unit with the Legions of start a special rule, and at least one model within 6 inches gain +1 to the score used to calculate the winner of combat. So yeah, they're inspiring others as well as being amazing and inspiring themselves. In this case, they're showing off, and they're getting the +1. Yeah, which is super cool, and you don't get the extra bonus for Fulgrim either on that one. So. Yeah, a bit different, but it makes you.
It's a neutral upgrade. It's just a sort of side grade, isn't it? It just shifts the focus onto them rather than onto
it's more
which
specific.
I think which is entirely appropriate for the way their Legion went. I think that's quite good.
And Exemplars War. So a warlord with a special rule may take the Broken Mirror or Paragon of Excellence. So Broken Mirror is friendly unit, comprise one or more model within 12 inches. Fails a morale check. Instead of falling back, it suffers one wound that cannot be negated. But then you're considered to have passed the morale check. And then the Paragon of Excellence, friendly unit within 12. Passes a morale check, it gains +1 weapon skill until the end of the controlling player's next turn. Can only be applied once per game to any single unit. I mean, with Stupefied, that could be really cool. The Paragon of Excellence, +1 weapon skill, and then +1 strength is pretty cool. So yeah, I like those little changes. Subtle, but quite nice.
But quite flavorful, the way of where they are. I think it represents that well.
They've got the Armory of Indulgence. I'll jump to that. So debased augments. So, character subtype but not unique may select based augments, Warp Scream, Abhorrent Sensoria, Sublingual Glands, which give you a weapon. Warp Scream is Hammer of Wrath. If you've already got it, you add 1. And they also have Rending 5+. Sensoria is a Precision Shots 5 and Precision Shots 5 Strikes 5+. It's not bad.
So that one stood out to me. I thought that sounded really good.
I think that's very powerful, particularly when you're dealing with trying to get like apothecaries, things like that out of enemies. Becomes really quite a powerful ability. I
think it synergizes quite well with things like you could put that on sun killers and things. It feels like it works well for shooting and melee characters.
I mean so it will go onto your champions because it's characters but not. It's 15 points a model, which is probably fair. It's a good rule, but it's 15 points. It will soon add up if you put it on lots of different dudes. So maybe you're not putting it on your tactical champions, but Phoenix Terminators or whatever. And that's essentially this was replacing your surgical augments. So they've gone from your surgical augments you used to have to these debased augments.
It's sort of turned up to 11, aren't they?
Cool.
Yeah.
The Phoenix pattern Terminator haven't changed. Cool. Rapier and Power Spheres are the same, which is absolutely fair enough. So that's cool. You've got those extra little bits. And then you've got 2 Rites of War. Now, I'm rushing this a little bit because we've been recording quite a while. It's quite late, and we didn't mean to be this late. Both Rites of War require Fulgrim, which is interesting.
I'm surprised they did both. I feel I'm surprised it wasn't one.
But you still got access to normal Rites of War.
Yes, you have.
So you can still go and look. You won't be allowed the Emperor's Children Rites of War though, because they're stuck to Legions of Astartes, Emperor's Children, aren't they?
Yeah, you've only got the general generics. Ones,
but there's quite a few of them.
But I'm just surprised that both of these are linked to Fulgrim. I think a better choice would have been one for Fulgrim and one general. Yeah.
Maybe it's a way of balancing Fulgrim.
Yes, okay.
In a way, or the army.
Maybe balancing the army. Yeah.
Maybe there was more than Fulgrim. That probably makes more sense. So, any detachment that has Legion Hereticus, Emperor's Children fulfills at least one of the following conditions. May use Corrupted Rite of War. So you've got to have Legion Hereticus, Master of the Legion, and.
I find the second bullet point confusing.
No, it's not confusing.
Well, I think it is.
I'll explain why it isn't. What the other one, basically, this has come up before with things like Alpha Legion in first edition. It's like this Rite of War allows this. At what point does it take place to allow it? Does X unit qualify, or does it have to be in the army? Do I have to have a qualifying unit in the army, or does it qualify once the Rite of War is chosen? This tells you that you can choose the Rite of War and then within that allow that model to upgrade. So I don't have to take a qualifying unit before I choose my Rite of War. My qualifying unit can be because of the rules that the Rite of War allow.
Okay.
So it's a timing issue. I can't remember the Alpha Legion. It was Infiltrate, I think. There was rules around Infiltrate or something like that, and it was there was a Rite of War or something. Basically said, "Can I take this?" And it's like, well, no, you can't because you don't qualify for that Rite of War.
I still feels like that's confusing though, because you're applying prior knowledge to it. I'm reading that without that prior knowledge, and it looks to me when I read that cold as if it says, as long as there is a model in your detachment that could be upgraded to have Master of the Legion, you're good to go. So I can take a console who could be upgraded to have the Master of the Legion rule. I haven't chosen to. I've made him a chaplain instead, but I could have done. So I'm going to roll it. It's a janky way of interpreting it, but I think it adds confusion but clearly is there for a reason. So don't fix the problem that they had before. Fine.
Right.
But
well, let's go into it. So, Brotherhood of the Phoenix. A detachment using this corrupted rite of war may take up to 5 HQ choices, regardless of the force organization chart in use. Each of these HQ choices must be from the following list: Eidolon, Lucius, Legion Centurion with Legion Champion Console upgrade, a Legion Cataphracti Centurion with a Legion Champion Console upgrade, a Legion Tartarus Centurion with a Legion Champion Console upgrade. A Legion Champion in a detachment using this corrupted rite of war gains the Sycophantic Retinue special rule, which is while Fulgrim Transfigures on the table models with this special rule gain the preferred enemy everything special rule, which is pretty good. Fulgrim Transfigured must be included in a detachment using this corrupted rite of war. What's actually interesting is Fulgrim has Master of the Legion, doesn't he? And
does he? Does he in his transfigured
Primarch,
version?
Because he's also a Primarch. Do they have it? That's a good question.
He does. He has it. He has it inherently. Master of the Legion.
Okay, so in which case he has to be in both these armies anyway. So it actually does become irrelevant because you must.
It must be there. It must be there then for other purposes. It's there for
part of the problem with this rite of war is you don't follow the force organization chart for the HQs. So how can you select an HQ in your force organization chart until you selected this rite of war because you don't follow the force organization chart?
But the force yes, but these are units in addition to, aren't they?
No. A detachment using this corrupted rite of war may take up to 5 HQ choices, regardless of the force organization chart in use. So there's a bit of a blurred line there. So maybe that is where there's some confusion. Either way, so you've got to have Fulgrim. So you've got Master of the Legion. So it's almost basically allows you to bring up to 5 champions or Lucius or Eidolon.
Isn't there
just a lot of points?
Is Fulgrim's a Lord of War? He's not an HQ, is he?
Fulgrim's a Lord of War.
Yeah. Okay.
So you are, and you're allowed 2 HQ, 3 HQs, aren't you? Sorry,
3, 2. 1 is compulsory, up to 3 max.
Up to 3. So to utilise this, you've got to have Fulgrim, and then you're getting preferred enemy everything on your Legion champions,
of which you will have.
So if you have
between 3 and 5,
champions, if let's say you take 3 Legion champions, the only benefit from this rite of war is preferred enemy everything, which is not bad. Don't get me wrong. But to get the most out of it, you need 4 or 5 characters, maybe having Eidolon and Lucius as extra characters. It's a lot of points.
It is.
You're playing a big game to make the most of that. So I just don't think I'm going to see it very often because of that points value. Maybe people decide actually, preferred enemy everything is good enough on those units. Trying to remember if I think preferred enemy, does that carry over to the unit? I think it might do. Cannot remember.
If it does, that would be quite good.
But either way, champions come with Paragon Blades as a free upgrade. It's quite cool. Like it's a dangerous.
I think of the two, this is my favourite of the two.
It's cool. It's thematic.
Rites of War. I think it's quite cool, and I love the little group there. I think the Brotherhood of the Phoenix. I think it looks quite cool. These sort of 5 strutting, characters coming out. I think that's quite good.
It's ultimate Emperor's Children, isn't it? It's
not about which is kind of the point, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not about the dudes. It's about the dudes with names.
Yeah.
What you've got, the second one, Children of the Maraviglia, or Maraviglia.
Maraviglia, I think, but yeah.
You could well be right. So this is based on the Maraviglia, where the Legion really started to fall into the depths of where it fell.
And it's a suggestion of theatre.
Yes, absolutely. All models from the unit in a unit from an allied detachment gain the stubborn special rule whilst within 6 inches of any model with the Hereticus Emperor's Children special rule. Awesome. Fulgrim gains the stages set special rule. We'll get into that in a second. You must include Fulgrim. You may only be selected for a primary detachment, and you must include an allied detachment that is selected from Solar Auxilia or Imperialis Militia. That includes at least 4 units. Obviously you're going to want to do that because that's one of the main rules, is becoming stubborn. Stubborn 20-man squads is not a bad thing. I mean, if you're going to take militia, making them stubborn is one of the few things that makes them those base units still low leadership. But hey, the stage is set. When placing units into reserves, if Fulgrim Transfigured has not joined a unit and does not have a retinue squad, you may place him into reserves and must declare to the opponent a turn number from turn 2 to 4, indicating on which of their own turns they will bring Fulgrim Transfigured into play from reserves. At the start of the declared turn, the controller player must place Fulgrim wholly within 6 inches of a unit with the Legion Hereticus Emperor's Children special rule and not within 1 inch of an enemy model. If this is not possible, it cannot be set up. Until Fulgrim Transfigured is placed on the battlefield in this manner, all models in the detachment he is part of have the Stubborn special rule. So you make your whole army stubborn
until he arrives,
which is good until he arrives, and then you get to place him within 6 inches of an any Emperor's Children unit, just as long as you can fit outside of 1 inch of the enemy. Remembering, you can charge when you do this. You're also opening yourself up to reaction fire when you do this as well.
And you're coming in on a nominated turn.
And you're coming in. When do you join units? That's in the movement phase. I'd have to look that up in the rule book, because it used to be you join them at the end of your movement. If you were within range, you automatically joined units.
So he either comes in on his own and he's that bit further away, or you bring him in, keep him close to the squad that's brought him in, and he joins that squad. Potentially,
I'd have to look that rule up, which I'm not going to do right now. But I mean, if any units are going to be able to withstand a decent amount of fire, it's a Daemon Primarch. Toughness 70. If you're facing down 10 las cannons, you might lose a few wounds doing it. But you still kept him invulnerable. You've
kept him safe by not having him on the table turn 1. But you've lost. Given how fast he is, you've lost some turns of his effectiveness. But he's right up in the enemy's face.
But he'll turn 2, he'll be right up in the enemy's face if you want him to be.
Anyway.
It's that case of, is that one turn, because the chances are you're bringing him in turn 2. You've also got to have units close enough to do it, and the enemy will know what you're trying to do. So you need fast units that can survive long enough to bring Fulgrim in. So whether that's a land speeder hiding behind a building, or jet bikes, or assault troops, something like that, jumping forwards, or Rhino Rush. But it might not be fully. It could be a tricky one.
I think it does require some finesse, but I mean that's kind of appropriate. I love the idea. I think the idea of him having to have an audience is brilliant. I just think the concept is genius. Whether or not it's effective or otherwise, it's kind of secondary. I love the idea. It creates interesting modelling options as well, having these sort of enthralled Solar Auxilia or militia following them around. If someone's got that and has done that dedicated model already, that's a cool, fun thing to put down.
Your whole army being stubborn turn 1 as well, much reduces the chances of a unit running off the board when you're only starting 12 inches on. There are other ways to stop that as well, with Vexers and stuff like that. That can help. But stubborn ignores night fight, doesn't it? So you're not getting the -1 for that. It's an interesting one because the way the game works with the speed of people, if the enemy moves forwards and you've got a 14-inch movement, you can be charging stuff turn 1. with Fulgrim anyway. But as a storytelling thing,
Mm-hmm.
having your allied detachment, which are all stubborn, which allows you some cheap troops to gain objectives, be stubborn, and also then delve into some of the more cool militia stuff or fun militia stuff, should I say,
Yeah.
more appropriately. Um, uh, and then your Emperor's Children running forwards being stubborn is quite cool, but
Only
you're
until he
not going to
arrives,
want.
though. Mm.
Yeah, that's the problem. You're not going to want Fulgrim off the table for long. He's
No,
600 points,
no,
so
exactly. There's a
it
balance there, isn't
becomes
there? You
important.
want to leave him off to get the benefit of stubborn and keeping him safe from being
Yeah.
las cannoned off the table. On the other
Um,
hand, he's not doing work.
no, but the other problem is you declare the turn.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're declaring turn two because you want the most of him, you've really got to barrel forwards with a number of units,
Mm.
because otherwise, because actually this could slow Fulgrim down a hell of a lot, because turn one you can move 14 inches, turn two you can move 14 inches and charge. Turn one you can move 14 and your initiative. Turn two you can
Mm.
move 14 and charge. You are charging whatever you want turn two if you want to, if he's
Mm.
by himself. Now, obviously, there's a lot of ifs there. If you move forwards turn one, you're saying he's coming down turn two. They go and kill your 3 jet bikes and your 2 land speeders, and all of a sudden, your one unit that you've got is actually only 8 or 10 inches forwards. You've lost a decent amount of. You can put him 6 inches forwards, but it's not the same as moving 22 inches turn one
Well, also
and
he's
hiding.
coming out. He's coming out from Emperor's Children units. He's not coming out from the
No,
4 units of allied
the chances
militia
are the
or
Emperor's
auxilia.
Children units are going to be faster than those units anyway,
Yeah,
and
yes,
more
but still,
survivable.
there's
But
going to
yeah,
be it's a thing. What I mean is, there's
it's
not
another
that
thing.
many of
You've
them
also got to.
because you've lost 600 points to Fulgrim and you've lost
Mm,
however many points to the
I
allied
mean, militia can
detachment.
be cheap, but yeah. But also, you're having to barrel forwards with a lot of stuff, so you're going to have to take a
Mm.
more aggressive army. You can still have, but you're going to have enough stuff up there to get him out where you want him to be out. But it could actually slow Fulgrim down quite a lot. But as I say, as a storytelling rite of war, it's really cool.
Very cool. I love the idea is excellent. Whether it's
Yeah,
effective, it's another matter. But it's
and so
yeah,
that gaining access to corrupted white wars, that detachment. Just going back to that rule. That's the generic gaining access to corrupted rite of wars. So these 2 rite of wars, it's a future proofing thing.
yes. They even use the example, don't they, at the top? If you want to get a variant faction, i.e., Legion Hereticus Emperor's Children or Legion Hereticus Sons of Horus. I mean, that's why I was kind of as interested in this, because it sets a brilliant precedent for this kind of more
Well,
extreme version of the traitors, which I
we're
really
gonna.
like.
I mean, there's an argument that they don't do Iron Warriors this
Mm.
way, but I
Hmm.
mean, but also, why can't you have a certain amount of Iron Warriors this way? You might not get Demon Perturabo in the Heresy, but it doesn't mean some of his Legion can't
It's
fall.
also, this doesn't have to be demonized version. This is just doubling down
Yes,
on a particular way of
Hereticus. Yeah,
war. Yeah, exactly. It's Hereticus. It's just like, no, we've just taken off all the shackles now. We're going all in on this particular thing, whatever that might be.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
the Iron Warriors one could be machine based, because by the
yes,
we're starting to get by Beta Garmin and the Siege, we're starting to get, you're seeing the obliterator virus.
that's exactly the
Like,
example I was thinking of. Yeah,
yeah. So
demon
their
engines. They
Hereticus
start
could
making,
be,
they start messing around with demon
yeah,
engines. Well, probably not
could
demons, but yeah, that's
could
some
start to
steam
be,
engines. Yeah,
yeah, mechanically heretical things like that. So yeah,
yeah.
there is options for everything there, which is super cool actually.
I love it. I think it's really cool precedent for something for what's coming or template that's going to be used for these other things. It says some exciting things are on the way, particularly as they're so flavorful as this. I think that opens up some new interesting options.
Yeah, and there might be some specific army builds that really suit the stupefied raw and everything else,
Mm,
but it doesn't feel OTT.
no,
Like, it's not like everyone's sitting there complaining about how Emperor's Children are winning every game they fight. So if it is stronger than the regular Emperor's Children list, um, if then that's not doesn't sound like it's maybe much of an issue
no.
to me. Yeah, I think it's cool. And then,
and a super cool color plate for those who like
and I
those things.
mean,
I thought the image of the prefector there, it looks amazing. The Palatine.
if you take the Viglia Rite of War and take an esoterist in there as well, you can have the militia, the Emperor's Children, and the demons that they summon as well, which would be really cool if you want to go back to doing kind of, if you want to tell a story. It's a fantastic vehicle for doing that.
Now, it's a long time since I read Fulgrim, but if I remember, that scene in where they start really going for it, don't demons start to
that's how it starts.
manifest?
The music starts, the dance starts, and demons start to come out. Demonettes start to come out and kill people during the thing, and they're too stupefied to do too much about it. So that's the kind of the point of which the soul of the Legion really started to, like, that was the obviously things were happening around, but that was the marker, shall we say, of things have gone now, and there's no denying it, and you're in or you're dead.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see where they go with these and what they might do. I mean, your mind starts to race about what they're going to do with some of the other legions.
I don't think we're going to get down the line. This opens up for corrupted legion-specific units that are only available for. That would be cool to see the odd one of them. I'm not sure they're going to bring out a corrupted Mark III adjustment kit. Just go and get your bits, like. Just 40k, 3 demons, like there's a host of opportunities for your real modelers to go to work there. And even if I was doing World Eaters, something like that, I'd potentially now start to consider including bits of those within my legions in anticipation for having the Hereticus rules for World Eaters.
Love it.
Because it will be really cool. Again, the one thing I will say is there's no real lead into Fulgrim in terms of background, right?
No.
There's no background. There's the little the little black sidebar next to him. The Legion Heretica stuff. There's no additional information really. There's a little black sidebar, kind of thing, dotted around. So if you're looking for more information on that, then this is not that book. This is very much for the Hereticus side of things and Fulgrim. It's rules. So you're not getting an expansion of lore.
No.
Which maybe I think is something that's missing. Even a 2 or 3 page kind of, by the time of the events of what's the book when he turns? I never remember the name of it, but not Vengeful Spirit. Angel Exterminatus. Like, from this point on, like the Legion had blah blah blah, that kind of thing, or more background into the Maraviglia, because actually, there's that small paragraph at the top, but if you haven't read Fulgrim, you don't know what this is, like we do, because we've read the book, and if you're looking at it as a rules thing, that's a very different viewpoint from where you and I are coming from. It doesn't even the frustrating thing is you don't even know where to look. Like, if you want to play Emperor's Children, go and read Emperor's Children novels. Cool. Okay, that's kind of a given.
Where do I get to find out about Legion organization?
But where's this? What does this Rite of War signify? It would be nice to be like, the events of, even in a sidebar or at the bottom, they've got a space at the bottom to say, the Maraviglia is detailed in Fulgrim, and is the point at which, demon incursions occur, blah, 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 blah. Like, that would be just a nice touch for, again, a new player who goes, oh, cool, Emperor's Children are cool. I play them in 40k. I want to play them in Heresy. What's this all
Yeah,
about?
you are kind of relying on community at this point, aren't you?
Yeah, and assumed not. There's a lot of assumed
Yeah,
knowledge in
there is.
second edition Heresy, and I don't sit there and moan about that, because again, I think we're at a point where it's just getting the information out there. But I think it's a shame that,
Mm,
and it, you know, we're in that kind of area of assumed knowledge, kind of deep into it.
mm,
There's a lot of fresh people who haven't got that, and maybe Forge World could do a little bit of a better job at guiding the newer players to find out that bit more. Because and yeah, like everyone knows, you can go and read all the Emperor's Children books, but actually, which books are they all in? Because okay, you've got Fulgrim. It's called Fulgrim. Brilliant. If you're an Iron Hands player, which books are Iron Hands in? Well, they haven't
yeah.
got any of their own except for Shadrach Meduson.
Mm,
You know, so where am I looking to find information out? Actually, you want Fulgrim. That's got a bit of information in it about Iron Hands. So I think Forge World could do a little bit of a better job at that.
yeah,
And that'll
and
be for the benefit of the
it's
community.
taken a long time for them to get to that point in specialist games, whatever the studio it is taking hold of these things. It's taken them a long time to get to that point with Necromunda. I mean, we've only
Yeah.
just had a sort of revised rule book, and there was
One
issues with
difference is,
rules and armories being spread all over lots of different places. It was quite difficult to find that sort
yeah,
of. It's
the one
consolidated.
the one
Yeah.
difference is Necromunda started off completely fresh. Second
Yes.
edition has 9 books of lots of detailed lore
Yes.
that are currently not utilized. And
No.
if you want that lore, and the only legal way to go and get it is to go and pay £100 to £600 on eBay, depending on which book you want,
Mm.
to get a third lore, a third campaign, and a third
Which,
outdated rules.
yeah, and a campaign that
Like,
you can't entirely use in its current form,
and
but you could
yeah, and
twist.
out of
Yeah.
that third lore, half of that will be a different legion to the one you pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know, there's a resource there that is underutilized
Mm.
from Games Workshop. At the very least, get it on the vault. I don't think it's on the vault yet. I haven't
No.
double checked. At the very least, get it on the vault so someone can go, I'll subscribe for a month
Mm.
to Warhammer Plus so I can go and read that. Ideally, get that lore in some format available to purchase digitally, what have you. It's relevant. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And for newer players, becomes an invaluable resource that they have no real way of obtaining except illegally.
Yeah.
So I really feel that that would be a major benefit to the community, because otherwise you can get splits. You get the problem is you get new people coming in and people go, oh yeah, well it's all this, like the Maraviglio. How do you not know about that? It's this, or
Mm-hmm.
oh no, Ultramarines don't do that because of this. Oh, well, where do I find out this information? Oh well, you know,
Oh,
should have played the
shame.
game 10 years ago.
Shame you missed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. Yeah.
And how do new players then respond to
Mm.
the people who then say that? You know, it just reduces that potential.
Hopefully, we'll see something done with that.
Yeah, I really hope we do. And maybe it needs us to ask, just go and repeatedly ask. Look,
Oh, this
dude,
is true, isn't it? Yeah. This would be good if you
yeah,
did something with it, please.
at the very least, put it on the vault. Like
Mm.
they're putting the rack stuff and the bad ab stuff all on the vault without rules. Cool.
Mm.
Let's get that on there at the very least.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I like the book, but
I do.
I'm
surprised how much I like the book.
also a sort of fan of compiling that information into one resource.
Mm.
Maybe I'd want 1 or 2 more exemplary battles in there. 3 books of this with 6 in each. Cool, you know, that kind of thing would be lovely. 6 legions worth in each. However, they might have plans for how they're releasing extra information out.
Mm.
I want, you know, they still need to bring out another Strategic Cthonia equivalent, like a battle, a region book, as a campaign and those things. Like it can't just be this, which I don't think it will be.
No.
So, and they need constant, not too infrequent, not too frequent releases because of how sales work as well. So
just and to keep it ticking over.
Yeah. Awesome. I like the book. I would recommend it, I think, from flicking through it. So I haven't sat down and read the Exemplary Battles, but I like the Exemplary Battles as a general rule. It's more background as well, and it's funky. Sometimes it's a little bit funky background, slightly delving slightly into the shadows, should I say, the grayer areas sometimes, which is cool.
Adding more depth.
Talking in general.
I'm all for it. More depth, and I'm all for that. And I really enjoyed reading them through this. Yeah,
depth and breadth, which I think is important. And Hereticus rules for anyone who's interested. There are some people who, you know what? Some people I would say don't buy this book. It's not for you. If it hasn't got your rules in it and you're not that bothered, this book's not for you. If you've
read all the Exemplary Battles and it isn't one of your legions, I think this would be one to skip. But that's fine. If you're a completionist, you're probably going to get it. You're going to be picking it up anyway. And if it is for one of your legions, it's probably going to be interesting. Right? Yeah,
I don't mind. It's one of those things. I don't mind having to buy a certain amount worth of stuff every year to play a game. I don't mind giving Games Workshop, like someone was talking to me about the Age of Sigmar, like every year they're going to, they're going back to a year's worth of rules, basically a new battle pack plan thing once a year. And he was like, I've only played X amount of games since last year, so I haven't bought the new rule book. I'm like, cool, I don't mind paying 20 quid a year to play the game.
To have new stuff.
To have new stuff.
Yeah.
Where that line is on how much you pay to do that, who knows? If that price is small enough, I don't mind that subscription fee effectively to keep playing the game. This is slightly different, but fits a little bit into that with me. I don't mind giving X amount of money to Heresy every year. And at the end of the day, look, people might say, "Oh, you're shilling for this, whatever." This book actually disappears from our access when this releases. So if we want this book, we have to go and buy it. Right?
This book, the way this has been previewed to us, this book is unusable as well. Yeah. I would never use this in any given form. This has just allowed us a sneak peek.
It's got my name all over it.
Exactly what it should be. It's covered all over it. You would never use this in any reasonable way. It's extremely well protected, and I can see why they needed to do that. I agree completely. I think it's actually a perfectly sensible way to do it.
Yeah, they've been given access to the book. They haven't given it to me for free. Fine, cool, whatever. Not bothered. Like, it would be lovely if they sent me a free book and allowed me to do it that way, but they haven't, and I don't care.
Don't begrudge them that. No.
I am going to order
given
this book.
What's happened for these things in the past.
It's a shame it's direct order only. I suspect there's a few issues for that. Partly that they want money. Whatever, cool. I'm buying the book.
I assumed it was to do with volume. I assumed they're not producing this in the volume necessary to make it a trade item, as I think they're called, these items that can go out to everyone. That's why it's direct only, I assume. Cthonia was the same, wasn't it?
Yep. And it might be cases of damaging stock and things like that, and and issues around that kind of stuff. Who knows? I'm not privy to that information.
We don't know any of that. No.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to, like, my review of the book is I'm going to buy it. Having had it for a period of time, I'm going to go out and buy it.
Yeah.
So
I quite like the idea of having the collection. Yes. Whether I buy it on digital or physical, I'm undecided, because I'm reaching the point. Well, I have reached a point where I will be thinning out the physical things I have,
sure,
because it just takes up too much space. And
It's a tricky one.
Cross-nullable things is not there, but I might go for the digital version from that point of view. But having it there's a nice use, because I think digital versions of these things is quite a good way to go going forward. But we shall see what people choose to do.
Mileage may vary, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Awesome.
Horses for courses,
right.
etc.
Yeah,
Lovely.
I think we'll leave that there.
That was a much deeper dive than I expected, but I think it's been a good one, actually. That says a lot about what there is to talk about.
Cool, and hopefully we'll be back. Like this is a squeezed-in episode, and we'll be back at the start of the month-ish for our next episode. We've had some feedback from the last episode, particularly about our painting section.
Yes.
Which is really good feedback, actually. And
love
at
feedback.
some point down the line,
getting feedback of any kind. It's just the best.
Yeah, we'll be implementing. Well, we've already chatted at different things. We will be reviewing some of the feedback because there's some good feedback, and we will be implementing changes and coming back to that. We're going to do demons. Fingers crossed. I've got a game booked in the week before we record, basically that week, to play with demons and try them out. I need to sit with the book, but I think we'll try and get demons done for that because it's an interesting thing that's happening. It's quite a broad subject as well. But yeah, if you've got any more feedback about this or previous episodes, please feel free to let us know.
Absolutely.
We'll call that there, mate.
Good to talk to you as always.
And you, take it easy.
See you soon, bud.
Cheers. And you've made it to the end of another episode of The Imperial Truth. Apologies if I sound a little bit hot. A few plosives on here. Got to come up with a better system, I know. We're working on it. And it just didn't show up while we were recording that I was maybe a little bit heavy on the mic. So I will take that one, and apologies. Secondly, we did this show whilst so my kitchen's being done. I'm kind of going back to work after being ill. The office is a state. We've got loads of stuff going on. We didn't have as much time to sit down and read the book as we wanted to, and we had limited recording opportunities as well. So going back and reviewing the episode was a little bit, this isn't out when I wanted it to be either, that kind of thing. So we might have got things slightly wrong. We might have missed the odd thing. I would love to have covered the exemplary battles a little bit more, but I think we did what we could with the time, and I think we've given it a fair review based on our impressions. As we say, your mileage is going to vary on this book. There are other people out there who've done reviews. You can go to Goonhammer and you can go to various other places, Sprues and Brews, places like that, to get reviews. I don't know how many YouTube channels or podcasts are doing reviews. Obviously, the written word's slightly different kind of beast with that kind of thing. But hopefully we've given a fair review from our perspective, and make of that what you will, I suppose. If you do have feedback, obviously, just a reminder, we don't have access to this book anymore until it comes out and we purchase it. So I can't go back and review stuff and make changes. There's been a couple of questions I've seen in the few hours since the reviews have come out, asking questions, and I'm like, unfortunately, I can't double check what we've said is 100% accurate. We do sometimes get things wrong, obviously, but I think we're pretty much there. So, and it's only going to be a couple of weeks, and everyone can have this book in hand anyway, which will be cool for those who want it. Which will be cool. Just remember, if it's not for you, don't have to buy it. And that's the important thing here. If you've got feedback about this episode or previous episodes, please feel free, Greg at theimperialtruth.com, and I can pass it on to Howard if it's relevant. Well, and even if we're going to talk about it in the show or things like that. And we've had some good feedback, particularly from the paint aspect of last episode. Some useful feedback, some ideas. So that's cool. Thank you guys for doing that. We're going to cover that a little bit more next episode. As I say, time was pushed and we recorded way longer than we thought we would, and probably had time to do as well. So caused a few other problems elsewhere. I've been a bit derelict in some of my duties. But we're going to be back sooner than normal, because of the nature of this being mid-month, and we will talk more heresy. There is plenty to talk about. As I say, hopefully I've got a game with demons, using demons, in a week and a bit. So I need to sit down with the demons PDF and work out what I'm doing with that, and how I'm going to run my army. And definitely going to try and find some way to get some swarms in, which I've got an idea, and we'll talk about that on the next show. Maybe even I'll post some pictures. Hopefully we'll have pictures of our Mark III Marines and Derrideo up. Again, because of the nature of having everything going on within the house, and also my airbrush completely dying, and we have to go to order a new one from Element. They're going to be out later, and then might not be fully finished. There are some beautiful, beautiful miniatures out there. Richard Gray, just seeing put up a Death Guard, and there's I can't remember who it is on Twitter. Kieran 40k has put up a piece about magnetising the arms for the Derrideo, things like that. And I know M Durant, Electric Eve, has started hers, though she's a bit delayed as well due to illness. So, but there's lots of people out there doing some cool stuff with their Mark IIIs and the Derrideos, which is super, super cool. As I say, I will try and get ours and Howard's up, because we split the box, and hopefully we can get some pictures up at some point. As I say, they're just not on the release day, which is what we wanted to do. Anyway, I think we're going to leave that there. As I say, if you've got topics, please send them in. If you've got something you think you want to ask questions, if you've got questions about the demons, then send them in before we try and cover that. I'm 99% sure we're going to do demons next episode. And we've got some other bits and pieces planned as well. I'm going to leave that there. You have been listening to The Imperial Truth.